You guys still see me?
Yeah.
All right. So, first and foremost, thanks for having me. I'm actually recording this presentation via Keynote, and I'll upload it to YouTube and post it on my blog probably by tomorrow. So you can go back and see it, and etc. And then I'll put the slides up on SlideShare as well. So we'll go from the title page to the next page. Obviously, since we're doing this in video, you know what I look like, but I have a collared shirt on in this picture. Um, my name's John Cashin. I'm the president of a company called Digital Firefly Marketing. I believe you met one of my partners in crime, Glenn Thomas, who I've worked with on a company called JagTag, where Glenn did all of the technical work, and I was the COO, and we sold that company to Augme for about $5 million last July. And then I started this company. I still work with Glenn on a couple of different projects, and I rely on him a lot for some technical stuff, and he relies on me for some of the marketing. But I've been doing digital marketing for the last 5 years on social and probably SEO and PPC for about 7 or 8 years. So I've been doing stuff with Google and AdWords for a while. My company does is kind of a full suite digital marketing company. We start with sometimes the bare bones, which is logo design, website design, and we build websites usually in Drupal, sometimes in WordPress, depending on what the client wants. And then we market them using SEO, pay-per-click, email, and social media. That's pretty much our strategy. So we'll go on to the next slide. Guys, have any idea what this is?
The internet.
Being the technical crowd that you are, I have no this. You're the first ones ever to get that. It is the internet. If you look at it, it looks actually quite organic. A lot of people, when they see this slide, actually think it's the human brain, but it's actually the internet, and you can see how well connected the planet is. We'll go on to the next slide. Anybody know what this is besides the United States? Any guesses?
Power.
No. Nope. This is a map of everybody's Facebook connections. So as you can see, most people will have connections in a very small radius of one another. So as you can see, like as people, more and more connections equals more and more light. So people around obviously the East Coast of the United States are pretty much all connected, and you can see as it goes out that the people are connected, worldwide through Facebook. So this is a image representation of how Facebook looks in terms of connections. We'll go on to the next slide. So anybody know what that handy dandy little device is?
iPhone?
Yeah, it's the iPhone. It is the one thing that we are now all carrying in our pockets. So we'll go on to the next slide. And this kind of gets to the main point. It's in the last 10 years, the world has really, really changed. The internet has gotten really, really big, and it's getting bigger and bigger. I mean, just you guys going through your little 1-minute pitches, it's much easier for a developer to get a product to market and to connect people very, very quickly. People are now more connected than they ever were through email, through things like Facebook and Twitter and Skype. And people now essentially carry computers in their pockets with iPhone and Android devices. So they're always on, they're always connected. The only time they're really connected is when they sleep. Move on to the next slide. This is my favorite Facebook cartoon, and it really explains why Facebook is free. Essentially, Facebook is free so that they can get information from you in terms of what you like. So as you can see, these two little pigs are in the barn, and obviously they're being fed for slaughter, but with Facebook, you're hopefully not going to get slaughtered, but what's going to end up happening is as you sit on Facebook and you quote-unquote like or comment or answer questions, Facebook records that data, and marketers like me come along and target you for certain products being sold, and then I pay Facebook a little bit of money. If we go on to the next slide, we start getting into some statistics, and obviously these statistics are U.S. based since I'm a U.S. based company, but I would imagine that in Europe they're actually pretty analogous. But currently right now the U.S. population is 311 million, and out of that there's an estimated 164 million people who are online. So if you look at that stat, the one thing that's obviously not in the 164 million are things like people like infants, people under 6 or 7, and some extremely old people. So most of the U.S. population right now that is of working age is online. Go on to the next slide. And when they are online, they spend a lot of time online. 1/3 of the U.S. population spends more than 3 hours online every day. This stat is from 2010, so it's about a year and a half old. But so I imagine that as the iPhone has gained with more and more popularity, and the iPad as well, this stat is actually increasing. If we move on to the next slide. And everyone has gotten social. 2/3 of the U.S. Now uses social media, so they are very much into Facebook and Twitter. 63% of all people are, and again, this keeps increasing month over month as more people join Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest. Moving on to the next slide. And when they're online, they spend more time on social media and blogs than they do anywhere else. 24% of U.S. Internet users will spend time either reading blogs or hanging out on social networks, sharing pictures, sharing videos, commenting, liking, etc. We move on to the next slide. This kind of reinforces what we had before, that is 164 million internet users, and 152 million of them are on Facebook right now. And the latest stat, I believe, is about 50 to 60% of that 152 million log in every day, and 50% that log in every day do it from their mobile devices. So what we're seeing is that Facebook has become one of the main destinations with Google that people use every day to keep up with news. For Google, what we've seen is people go to Google with an intent. They're looking for something. They're trying to find something on the internet. With Facebook, people are going there to keep up with their friends and keep up with the internet in real time. Move on to the next slide. And when people are on Facebook, they spend a lot of time on Facebook. 1 out of every 8 minutes online is spent on Facebook. I think the average Facebook visit's about 24 minutes, which is obscene in terms of web statistics. So Facebook is really turning into the water cooler or hangout of the internet. People go there to see what's going on, to keep up with their friends, and that, look at that little news feed pretty much every day, if not twice a day. Move on to the next slide. So all these things, Google, Facebook, etc., are starting to replace older marketing tactics. So what people used to do to get people to buy their product was they would do cold calling, which is they would just, they get a list of phone numbers and they would call. But in the U.S., and I think probably in Europe as well, people have joined what's called a do not call list. So with over 300 million U.S. citizens. 200 million of those have been asked not to be called. So can't really do cold calling anymore to sell somebody something. And beyond that, if you move to the next slide, people are skipping TV ads. 86% of people, I know I do. I have a DVR. We're watching something. We're either watching it through Netflix or on demand, or we've paused it and gotten up and gotten something to drink, and then we start again and we skip all the TV commercials. We've seen 86% of people skip TV ads, and 44% when they get a direct meal advertisement simply just chuck it in the trash. So for marketers, it's much better to go with someone like a Facebook or a Twitter, where people are actually who are actually active on those things, rather than TV or direct mail, where people are actually turning away from those advertisements. If we go to the next slide, we'll talk about Nike. So if you look at my wrist here, I have something called a Nike Fuel Band, which is this looks very much like a Live Strong bracelet, which is not a mistake. And if I open it up, you can see it's got a little USB port. What it does is it tracks my movements through the day, so it's a lot like Fitbit. That, when I plug it into the USB to charge it, will sync up with NikePlus.com and record my movement for the day. So what Nike's doing, you can also sync it via Bluetooth with your iPhone, and it'll upload as well. So what Nike is starting to do is collect information on what people do with their activities for the very shrewd purpose of being able to target you on the sports that you do. So I play golf and I run, so I will get ads from Nike based on golf and running, whereas someone else who plays tennis or who does rock climbing will get a completely different set. So what Nike's starting to do is roll out all of these products, not only in their running shoes, but in their basketball shoes, that have little chips in them that start to record your movement. And everything funnels up into NikePlus.com, where it records something called Nike Fuel. So if you can look at the little graph, on this day in July, I recorded 3,134 Nike Fuel. You can see that, I think I went golfing that day. From about 1 o'clock in the afternoon to about 4, there's me walking around the golf course. As it gets more and more social, you'll start to see friends. You can keep up with your friends. You can challenge your friends to races. You can challenge them to fuels. You can do goals, etc. But it's a real way for Nike to combine their physical products with some digital services so that they can accurately target a message or an ad to you. So the next slide is really just kind of summing everything up. Is really, you want to fish where the fish are. Direct mail and cold calling and TV ads aren't working anymore. Everyone's online. Everyone's Googling. Everyone is on Facebook or social, and everyone's got an email address. So when people come to us and they say we want to do some digital marketing, these are the strategies that we use to get them found online so that people can buy their products. So let's talk about how we kind of map this out. So we'll talk about social media marketing strategy. So I'm on slide, it says 13 on the bottom, but it says digital strategy feedback loops. So this is the main strategy we use with all of our customers, and it consists of 3 channels. The first channel is paid media, and this is pay-per-click through Facebook, Google, or Bing. It's display ads that you can buy through Google or Bing or other things like Something Awful or blogads.com. And it's also TV ads. I know I put in there that 86%, but you can buy some real cheap TV ads through Google AdWords. And it's also another channel we call earned media. And what earned media is marketing that you have gotten through other means. So it's people have liked something or shared something on Facebook, so more and more people see your product. It's retweets and people beyond your employees sharing something on Twitter, and it's Pinterest where people repin things over and over again through the Pinterest boards. And then the last channel is something called owned media. And this is something that you have direct control of so that people can find you either via Facebook or Google. And that's getting the right SEO keywords on your website. It's having a mobile CSS site. It's doing email marketing. Those three channels, their main thing is to drive traffic to your website. So when they're on your website, they do something. Now that could be they sign up for an email address, they follow you on Facebook, they buy your product, they send you an email saying I want to learn more, etc. So you either want them to convert to a lead or to pay you money, or you want them to sign up so that they stay within your marketing sphere. So they give you an email address so that when you send out an email newsletter, they still see your brand. So if we go on to the next slide, we start to get into what we call a funnel. So this basically maps out every marketing tactic we use at every part of the buying cycle. So at the very top, when someone has no idea who you are, you have to get into their mind, essentially. So we use tactics like writing blog articles, doing web banners, having newspapers write articles about us, people liking us on Facebook so it shows up in the ticker, people doing pins on us so that people see, oh, that's Digital Firefly Marketing. I've heard about those guys. So when then they become aware of us and they go, I could really use those services, they come onto our website and they start to poke around. They're going to go, okay, why do I need these guys? What problem are they solving? So what we do is we offer them how-to educational books. We offer them videos like this one, which will be up on our website, talking about social media. We sign them up for emails that send case studies to them about why social media marketing is important. And here's a customer that got 200% return on their investment. And then as they start to formulate a reason to buy, they come to us and they say, okay, I'm ready to buy. So at this point, you try and nudge them a little bit. And the tactics in this one are offer them a coupon or a special offer, offer them the product that they want to buy, they're interested in, and make it super easy. We actually just put credit cards on our site so that people can pay us our monthly retainer via credit card rather than doing big long contracts and sending us checks. And then once they buy, offer them more stuff. We do. People sometimes come to us for logo design, and then we offer them, hey, look, we just did your logo. How about some help with social media or keywords, etc. So basically, when you sit down and you think, okay, how am I going to sell your product? This is a great funnel to just say, okay, here's how I'm going to do it, and here are for each one of these stages, the tactic I'm going to use. So not only people can find me online, but when they're on my website, I capture some amount of data and I'm able to market back to them at a later date. If we go on to the next slide, we start talking about some of the tactics that we use to make it easier for people to find us. So this is owned media tactics. So this is making your digital assets better by making them more accessible. So the first thing is search engine optimization. This is making your website much more accessible to Google. Typically we'll get a call from somebody saying, Nobody can find me on Google. We look at the website, and they don't use the right keywords in place. They'll have an about section with the keyword about. Well, I mean, you can only imagine if someone Googles the word about, there's going to be about a trillion website visits. So, it's being very specific with your keywords. It's ensuring that they're in the right place, especially if you're doing custom PHP development, that you conform to what Google wants it to see. So, that your headers use H1 tags, that you're using clean URLs, that you're using page titles that reflect the actual page title, and you don't use the company name over and over again throughout the website, etc. The other thing that it's very, very good, especially for tech companies like you guys, is to write a blog. What we've seen a lot of developers do is they use Google to search for snippets of code. So getting found by other developers and other development companies that you could partner with, one of the best ways is to write a blog saying, here's a piece of code that I wrote that does X, Y, and Z. It also lets you use keywords more and more. Not only that, it gives you content to post to Facebook that people can use, to click on, and also for Google to index via Facebook and Twitter. And then using your own media, your website, using things like Facebook Connect as a single sign-on, and also using the like button on your content allows you to use your owned media to build earned media. So you always have to kind of go back to that earlier slide where your own media is stuff that you control, but by putting earned media on it, you can actually start to earn it. So for instance, people come to your website, they like a blog that you wrote, they can pin it to a pin board or they can like it on Facebook, and that just builds earned media. So if you go on to the next slide, we start to talk about earned media tactics. And the goal here is we want people to share the site and to start creating content for us. The reason that we push Facebook so hard on people is simply for traffic referrals. It's the #1 website in the world for referring traffic from Facebook to your site. I get probably a third of my website traffic from Facebook day in and day out. For all of my clients, it's by far the #1 traffic referral website. People use it not only with Facebook ads, but also in the news feed to push traffic from Facebook to the site. And what Facebook really is about is when people like or follow you, it's an audience that you can constantly market back to. So they might not be ready to buy, but they're certainly ready to listen. So getting your product or your thing out to that audience day in and day out just increases the amount of knowledge of your product to them, and it also increases the likelihood that they might buy. And of course, the other thing is Facebook apps. I think as you guys introduced yourselves, one of the big things that I noticed is really that a lot of them could be really easily embedded Facebook apps that you can put on either your website, your Facebook page, or on your clients that can certainly be used within the Facebook realm. We've put on our Facebook page, our Pinterest boards. We've also put on a presentation as well. So even when we're asleep, if someone wants to see our services and they're cruising Facebook, they can still see one of our presentations via SlideShare on Facebook. So that's one of those things, like using the Facebook apps, especially through iFrame, it just makes it drop dead simple to get the word out on your product. Moving on to the next slide. Pinterest is a relatively new social network that is really caught fire in the US. I'm not sure if it's big in Europe yet, but again, the big reason Pinterest is such a big item that we exploit is, again, traffic referrals. Facebook is number one. Twitter is number two, but right behind those is Pinterest, and they refer more traffic to websites than LinkedIn, YouTube, and Google Plus combined. So, especially if you're selling physical goods, what Pinterest is all about is being on a website, seeing something you want, and pinning it to a board. And when you see that board, people will look at it and go, oh, I could really use that pair of pants, and they'll pin it to their board. And their followers see it, and they pin it to their boards, and so on, so that you can get real viral real quick with your product. And we've used it on how-tos, on books that we've published, on certain videos, and on job postings. And it's really worked quite well for us and for some of our clients by spreading the word as people repin. And the next social media thing is LinkedIn. And because you guys are so technical, it's really, LinkedIn is one of those things that it's a lot different than Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter, because LinkedIn is really about thought leadership. We don't really look at using news feeds or anything like that in LinkedIn. What we look at is participating in groups. We've participated in the Drupal group a lot, and in digital marketing. So we'll write a blog about, like, for instance, SEO modules that we recommend for Drupal, post into the Drupal group, and all of a sudden there's a big conversation rolling on that one. Another one is if you look into LinkedIn Answers, you'll see a lot of people asking questions around certain topics. So you'll probably see some ones, people asking fairly technical questions as well. It's a good chance to just jump in, introduce yourself and your brand, and answer somebody's question. We answer a lot of questions on small business, on digital marketing, on SEO, and again, it's just one of those ways of just getting your name out, getting some brand awareness, etc. And again, it's all about traffic referrals. Getting Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, getting your URL out there so that people click and they come onto your site and they potentially either want to buy or use your product. If we go to the next slide, we'll start about paid media. So one of the problems that we see when people contact us to do their social media, especially if they're small, is they'll say, I only got 50 likes on Facebook. Well, I mean, the where the rubber meets the road is you need to get up to a critical mass of probably over about 1,000 or 2,000 followers to actually start to get some virility in your social media marketing. So what we always do is we start advertising on Facebook. So if I have, for instance, we're representing a romance author, we start to target people on Facebook who like romance novels. So we buy an ad, it gets shown, people like it, it grows their audience, and we get up to a point where that audience becomes interactive with the stuff we post and starts coming onto our website. With LinkedIn, the ads that we look at buying are people looking at the industry that we're targeting. So for instance, with the romance author, we're targeting publishers, and we're targeting people who review books. Similarly, with my own company, we'll target people who are decision makers, so IT professionals, etc. So it's really thinking about who is going to buy your product, and then once you get an idea of that person, going into LinkedIn and telling LinkedIn, I want to serve my ad only to small business, or I want to serve my ad to IT managers at Fortune 500 companies, etc. So that they click on it, they come to your website, and they say, oh, I really need this solution. With Twitter, they're actually just starting to beta test a small business solution. We actually wrote a blog about it yesterday. It's the same thing that they offer large businesses. It's promoted tweets and promoted accounts. And it's really similar to Facebook in the fact that you're trying to build an audience on Twitter. So that you can get retweets, so that you can get people tweeting to you. This is actually becoming more and more important in terms of Google indexing and search results, because Google listens to the Twitter feeds and uses it in their algorithm. The more tweets that you get, the more mentions, the more retweets on a subject, they look at it as a plus and push you up in the search rankings. So building that audience on Twitter, building a promoted account, actually has a bit of a snowball effect in terms of not only traffic referrals back to your website, but also into getting better search results. We go on to the next slide. We start talking about tracking success. One of the big things that we really try and push on people and that we supply is analytics, because at the end of the day, we're telling people you're either going to spend money on the ads, or you're going to spend time on Facebook promoting your company that could otherwise be used coding or making product, etc. So if you're not tracking success, you're just kind of hoping at some time that someone's going to land on your site and pay you a bunch of money. So what we do is we set up on every site, we use Google Analytics and we use goals. And we look at a short-term goal of visits, leads, and registrations. It's like, okay, in the month of May, how many visits did we get? How many leads did that generate? And how many people registered? And then we look at it month over month, and hopefully we'll see it going in a positive direction. Those are the short-term goals. Long-term goals, it's pretty simple. You're going to go and spend a bunch of money on marketing, and are you making more money than you're spending in marketing? And if you're not, you need to adjust it. And if you are, that's great. Maybe you need to spend a little bit more to get more revenue. That's the very simple, very basic way that we look at it. We don't typically look too much at locations or page content. We look at those as symptoms of maybe other problems. But at the end of the day, we're looking at marketing spend versus revenue creation and how those things correlate. So that's really the basic social media marketing presentation. If you go to the next slide, questions and answers. Feel free to ask me anything that you guys have on your mind in terms of social media. And thanks for having me for this quick little presentation on social media.